negative 1 hour week day trading Euro USD. This week was very interesting week, very listenable week. We extracted very a lot of lesson out of this week, right? On one day we had a beautiful loss, right? Let's go a quick glimpse into what's happened out the week, which why we ended up a negative 1 RR. We're supposed to be ending up on a 7 RR gain, right? But we're gonna talk about it, right? Right over here. On a Monday, it was a beautiful loss. Tuesday, we had a setup which was a loss, but we had another setup which was an actual good setup to the downside. But that setup throughout the whole day, my bias was, it's not that my bias wrong. I went based on the feelings inside the market. I traded the feeling instead of the chart, right? Market does not care about our feelings, does not care about how we feel like. It cares about the chart and the data, not our feelings, right? So Tuesday, my bias is supposed to still be bullish, but I was bearish because I felt like it's not getting respected, so I went bearish. But guess what? Market does not care about my feelings, right? On a Wednesday, it was a beautiful trade. We made back the Tuesday loss, but we didn't make back the Monday loss. But the Tuesday trade the Tuesday trade the Wednesday trade was a beautiful trade, 3.2 RR trade. It's supposed to be like a 4 RR. We're going to talk about that as well. We're going to be talking about a new way of entering the market using rejection block entries, right? And next thing is that trade, we only made 1 RR. It's supposed to be a 3.2 RR, but we only milked 1 RR. Why? We're going to talk about that as well because I feel like it's not the greedy part. It's just that we didn't have enough awareness, right? Okay, it's Tuesday. It's Wednesday. Next day, CPI. CPI is highly likely to be the one to perform. And guess what? CPI was the one to perform here, right? CPI pushed the market to the drawn liquidity. So the next day before it is probably going to be an OTE, shit like that, right? So on Thursday, we had our next setup, which we missed because we were now focused and we didn't check DXY for SMT because I forgot that SMT is meant to be for GU and DXY to look for SMTs, right? Because SMT can't just happen on GU. It can also happen on DXY, right? So we'll talk about that as well. But let's get straight into it, right? Like if you give us a quick glimpse, Friday there was no trade, just a market recap to say, right? I'll get straight into it, to the, what I'm saying, top down analysis to every trade and talk about it, right? So let's get straight into it. On Monday, right, if you see Monday trade right over here, on the Monday trade, we had a daily IRL, right, to ERL, daily CRT to the upside, daily discount leaders got met, so we're going to do it in Chai as well. We had that was all, that was enough for me to take this trade. So now let's go to lower time frame to take the trade right over here. We were looking for that New York, so Monday we had SMT, the slow had SMT with these lows, right? So we had SMT divergence, right, with the kilo, which is the rejection block, as well as we had a CRT here. We as well had fucking a 1 a.m. CRT. So we're looking for a near continuation, right? That's what we had. Eventually we're looking to execute this trade here. It was a lower time frame to the 15-minute. It was not that big. It was a beautiful loss here, right? So we had a CRT here, right? This is our CRT. As you guys know, we only prioritize CRT. We only prioritize SMT with the CRT. So since both the pair prioritize the CRT low, we didn't care with the SMT, but we did have SMT with these lows, right? But you can see right over here, right? We did have a what do you call it, a prioritize those lows. This right over here, this push happened around not at the perfect time, right? The timing of the price of a CRT for a for our candle is meant to be around 6 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. We had a pressure around what? 5:30. So we're looking for a 6 a.m. pressure between 10:30 a.m. So the market went back down and gave us that, that confirmation, right? Market closed right back above it, right? What do you see right over here? Goes right back above it, giving us that one more confirmation. We entered out the marble. We entered the threshold, because the body was overtaking the body was fat, right? Kind of fat, bulky candle. So I entered out the threshold right over here. Let's see, and once I entered the threshold, entry there, stop loss here, right? Take profit 1 and eventually take profit 2, take profit 3 right over there, right? Which just when I entered on loss, which is a beautiful loss. I didn't make any mistake off low almost. I built good habits. I'm satisfied from this loss because I built good habits, right? It's just a part of BT loss, right? Now going on to Tuesday. Tuesday, same analysis on high time frame, same thing. Everything is the same, right? On Tuesday, right? But I took a short, right? The shorting, even the shorting, there was a lesson of the shorting position here, right? The shorting position, the lesson out of the shorting position was that you know, there's multiple lessons of the trading position, right? But the reason we took a short here, I felt like it was going to go down lower and disrespect the SMT. So I predetermined that's gonna go in a lot. It's gonna disrespect it while the market is showing no signs of it getting respected. All of the market goes all the here, it takes it, and it doesn't get souped. It's still respected here, right? So I felt like it's gonna get, disrespected. So I thought I was looking for a short opportunity here, right? So I went based on my feelings, and I was looking for a near continuation to the downside, which we had right over here. Boom, near continuation to the downside right over here. Took a short, and eventually you can see that won a loss. But this is supposed to be our actual shorting position, right? Which we should have profit out of, right? But we took this trade. We didn't take this trade because of the one trade position rule, right? So we had a near continuation, near continuation. We had a sell order eventually that went in a loss. You can see right here if we go to the time frame, 5-minute time for the execution. See the 5-minute time frame when we execute the trade, which was this big bulky candle, right? We should have entered at the threshold, but it was all fine as of right now. There's multiple lessons as I said here, right? So we entered right over here, stop loss here, and then we're in a loss, right? So now let's go over the lesson of this loss. And the actual trade is supposed to be this right over here. Although our bias was wrong, our actual trade to the downside, even if we based out of the feelings, supposed to be this trade right over here, right? You see now, let's go over the lesson. What is the lesson out of this trade? The lesson is body, the candle's way too big of a candle. I should have entered the threshold here, right? So if the candle is too fat, I must always enter out of the threshold. If the body of the order block marble one is too fat, I must always enter the threshold, right? In this case, we're supposed to enter there, but we entered over here, giving us more or less RR here, right? So entry is supposed to be here, even when we're gonna loss. And the next lesson is for a near continuation. If there's an OTE, I can only execute my trade. Execution only occurs between 0.50% mark of the OTE to 0.886 mark of the OTE, right? In this case, we executed before the 0.50% mark or the 0.86 mark to get tapped, right? So we entered, too early. I was waiting for the market to go down, right? I shorted the market, and eventually when market went up higher, I second guessed it, and market went down lower, right? So the lesson is for a near continuation, if there's an OTE, I must only execute once the 0.50% mark to 0.886 mark is tapped for an OTE, right? If the 0.50% mark doesn't get tapped and I have a shorting position or a long position before that gets tapped, I will not execute the trade. I will stay in the sidelines until the 0.50% mark to the 0.88 mark to the 0.886 mark gets tapped, right? Otherwise, I will not execute. Why? Because it's a repeat, right? This is we're shorting too early here, right? We're selling in a discount, right? So over here we're selling in a discount. We're selling in a premium. Over here we're selling in a discount, right? You do not want to sell in a discount. We want to sell in premium, right? So when I buy in discount, sell in premium. Over here want to buy. Over here want to sell, right? So we're gonna sell in discount. Boom, and this one give it the right model one. Confirm the I'll CRT right over here. Eventually, you can see market eventually went down lower. Then I drawn liquidity, which was our CRT was still this hourly CRT throughout the whole time here, right? Of the Tuesday shorting position here, right? Our CRT was still relatively this candle because before this 8 a.m. candle ended, there was a confirmation to the CRT there, right? Eventually, our actual trade on Tuesday to the upside is meant to be around here at a 4 CRT, right? We are looking for a Neo Carosa profile too. But if you can see the execution over here on this, the Monroe 1 wasn't the right Model 1, so I would have not taken a trade because of the Model 1 not being the right Monroe 1. But otherwise, this was a beautiful to the upside, but did not have the right Model 1, so I couldn't execute it, right? But the shorting position, the lesson of the shorting position is I trade the chart and the data, not my feelings. The market not care about my feelings. I trade the chart and the data, not my PNL. I only execute if there's an OT free negotiation between 0.50% mark to 0.86 mark. If I have entered before 0.50% mark, 0.50% mark to 0.86 mark gets tapped, I will not execute a trade and wait till then, or not even take a trade the whole day, because I want to focus on the highest probably setup. The highest probably setup occurs during that specific time because OT starts up the next leg of the move. First leg, second leg, right? Eventually Marcaro boss was wrong, but saying first leg, second leg, right? Just like example to you guys. Now let's go over the Wednesday trade where we made only one RR. It's supposed to be a DRR, but yeah, we're gonna talk about it as well. So on Wednesday, same thing again here. Daily IRL, day to the upside. We as well had a this company got tapped on the range high. Or we had way more narrative, by the way. We had our other narrative could have been, saying we had a daily range here in a lower time frame. This company got tagged on the range high, right? And that's all we had. We had a bullish order flow, we had a 4 key level to the upside for our IRL to ERL, right? So now let's go down to the lower time frame and look for the execution of the Wednesday trade. This right over here, it was our London session trade, but this trade over here is supposed to be for somebody else, not for me, right? I had a one-on-one session, which was some Discord ETU members with the family, right, for free. Want to do that as well? We could schedule up a appointment for free for limited time only, right? So right over here, you can see it over here. As you guys know, I don't trade London session. I only trade New York session, right? So for London session, right over here, there was a setup, but for New York session as well, you can see right here, we did have a setup right here as well. Looking for a New York continuation. If I'm bullish, I would want the edition to make the low day, not the high day. In this case, edition made the low day, so looking for a New York continuation. So we had a CRT right over here. But at 6 a.m. is our CRT, 7 a.m. project CRT low, and CRT high right over here, right? And for this, and as you guys know, for a New York continuation, we can only execute between 7 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., not any time before that, right? So now let's go to the lower time frame for the hourly CRT confirmation, hourly CRT trade. And keep in mind, throughout the whole week, we had the same analysis paralysis, right? Except Tuesday, because we messed up our feelings, but Tuesday's supposed to be the same analysis paralysis to the upside, but I'm saying we made some mistake. But we learn from it, right? As long as there's a lesson to extract from it, that's all that matters, right? So on the once at 6 a.m. candle low gets souped, 6 a.m. CRT got souped, the LCT low got souped, so we're gonna LCT high and eventually to the other high right here. In this case, when I entered the trade, I was looking to go all the way to this high. Thus, why I only made one RR, right? Because 10% partial, 30% partial, right? 40%, 40%, 40%. So only partial 40% out of 3 RR, which fucking is only one RR, right? Not that much, right? So now over here, when the CRT low got suit, boom, there's a legit low here. Got a model one confirmation right over here, right? Got the model one confirmation, and then as well, for this model one confirmation, I personally did not execute out of the rejection block. I executed out of the older 50% mark of the 50% mark of the auto block right over here. Why? Because the the model one over here did not offer too much RR, and the body was overtaking the wick over here of this this candle right over. You can see it was overtaking the high of the Model 1 wick, right? The only time we take the threshold is if the body right over here is overtaking this wick, this this upside wick. In this case, is a bullish auto block, right? So is if the upside wick is small and the body is bigger than the wick, we're gonna be taking the fucking threshold, right? In this case, we take a threshold, stop loss entry there, stop loss here, take profit 1, take profit 2, right? And eventually these were not meant to be. These are not meant to be on my take profit, but I did go for them as a take profit. I'll talk about why I should have only gone for this high as my take profit. Right? We're gonna be talking about why. Before that, our actual execution entry should have been out of the threshold. Our actual execution should have been out of our rejection block right over here. The rejection block should have been our actual execution. Why? Because the rejection block gave us because the wick was overtaking the body here, right? Because the wick is bigger than the body, so we could have entered the wick, entry there, could enter the rejection block, entry there, stop loss here, take profit 1, take profit 2. Now this one, instead of making only what a 3.1 RR, we could have made a fucking 4.9 RR of this trade, right? We could have made way more, right? But it's the next lesson as well. And even on our even on our London session trade, we had what? On our London session trade, we had a rejection block entry there, stop loss here. Why the rejection block entry? Because the wick has overtaken the body, so we can enter out the rejection block here, right? So into the rejection block, right? Stop loss right below this. Take profit 1, same here, same take profit here, right? So now let's go over the lesson. Let's go over why we only made one RR. What was the lesson of this specific trade? The lesson of this specific trade is multiple things, right? We could have entered out of the, you know, rejection block, right? We could have had way more awareness here. I know awareness is a big thing here, right? Why could we have why could have we had more awareness? It's because this day was Wednesday, right? Thursday is CPI. So CPI is highly likely to be the one that pushes to the general liquidity. Although CPI didn't do nothing, right? CPI didn't even do nothing. It just pushed up a little bit higher, right? It didn't do much. Like guess what? What does CPI do? CPI brings volume into the market to push the market to draw liquidity, right? So since CPI is on Thursday, Wednesday is not gonna be a big day, right? Wednesday is gonna be a day just to go for a risk take profit because the next day is going to be a actual day where the market moves to the actual draw on liquidity, right? So Tuesday is going to be used as Wednesday can be used as I'm saying as a startup, right? Just to go make your profits. Don't go for a risk take profit because don't go for a risk take profit. Don't go for a risk take profit because the next day CPI is gonna be the one to be performing well because CPI is the actual CPI is brings on a lot of volume, so the market pushes up higher. Right? So CPI is the one to push the market to the draw liquidity faster, right? So the day before it, you want to go for a take profit. So you just want to have more awareness of that. Right? We use our brain a little bit more, right? And if I were to enter the same trade right here on a Tuesday, would I care about the Thursday calling the actual move? No, because why would I not care? Simply because of you know I ensured that I didn't trade on Wednesday because the day before it you have to go for a take profit, but this 2 day before it, right? So if I enter some trades over here and it still all over here, I wouldn't really care about it, right? Because I know that the market just pushed it down to the OT, right? Here's the OT push up higher, right? So I wouldn't care for that trade on a Tuesday or Monday. I could hold it up all the way till past Thursday because I know, as you guys know, Thursday be the one to perform well, right? Because Thursday CPI is a big major news, right? But the day before, you must go for risk take profit because I'm saying, as you guys know, because CPI is gonna be the one performing, right? So the day before, you don't want to be go for like a unrealistic profit, right? Although the take profit is not unrealistic, but what I'm saying, you want to maximize your profit, which is over here, which I only made 1 RR in this trade, by the way, right? So yeah, I'm supposed to make at least I'm supposed to make 3 RR because you know my take profit is supposed to be here, but I only made what? Again, 1 RR, right? Which only covered the yesterday's loss, right? On the Tuesday loss, didn't cover the Monday loss, but lesson, right? And eventually after that, we did have another entry here. You can see we did have another entry. We did have another trade later on the day for a OTE trade, right? OTE happened right over here. See, as you can see right over here, OTE happened to the downside. Eventually, what else do we had here after the OTE? We had a CRT, Alice CRT. We had a 5-minute model 1 confirmation. So 5-minute model 1 confirmation. We enter the stop, the entry. Our entry is going to be not on the number 1, it's going to be right on the rejection block. Why the rejection block? Because the wick is overtaking the body here, right? So enter there. Stop us here. You can see how rejection block entry, rejection block entry, rejection block entry, right? Why? Because the wick is overtaking the body. And that's the next thing we can have. The next thing we're going to have is I'm going to add a new rule of rejection block entries, right? I'm going to enter the trades out of rejection block, but the rejection block must be confirmed already. Our rejection block is confirmed by having the right model 1, right? And having the model 1 confirmed. So right over here, model 1 confirmed, the right model 1 as well, and eventually the conversion happened. Entry could have been on the rejection block, entry there, plus here, eventually the same take profit here, right? But this trade, you can see, well, you're saying, what will happen after the kill zone, right? Where are you taking this trade? This trade I didn't take it, by the way, just to let you guys know. But in the future, if there's something happen like this happens, I will be taking it, right? So why the trade still, valid for us to take this trade? Because of 2 things. Number 1 is this trade happened, all the way happened after the kill zone. There was a lot of volume, right? Why? Because OFMC meeting minutes came out, as well as there was a lot of big major news happening around the world, right? So since that's happening, we're valid to trade here, right? Because there was a lot of volume here. So how do you know to trade Edison or outside the kill zone? Is if there's big major news happening, like tariff, right? Tariff may cause a big move to the outside downside, right? Or a FOMC meetings, right? they cause a big ass push to the downside, or like any news that brings in volume to the market, right? When the market brings volume to the market, right, that means market's constantly moving here, right? So you're basically valid to trade because there's volume, right? So basically trading a session, right? Without trading a session, right? So this entry would have been the same thing here. The resistance block entry, where the resistance block was confirmed by order block. The only way I'm ever going to enter that resistance block is if the order block is confirmed already. I will not be determined a resistance block, right? So now let's go over our Thursday trade, right? Thursday trade was a missed trade. We're gonna be talking about as well, right? The Thursday trade, same analysis paralysis here, right? But the only new thing we had was a daily IRL right over here to ERL, right? But guess what? We still wait for these take profit. We're still looking for these as a drawn liquidity because daily range high, CRT high, and daily IRL to here, right? Because you have drawn liquidity spawning all over here, right? So now let's go on the lower time frame, the hourly time frame to execute this trade here. Hourly time frame, we're looking for a new continuation. Our hourly key level is this hourly fair value gap. But SMT, the hourly key level, we had SMT with DXY, and now we go to the 5-minute time for the execution here. See the 5-minute time frame. Our execution would have been, I'm saying right over here. Execution there and stop loss here. Take profit 1, take profit 2, right? Take profit 3, right? And you're probably wondering, well, why do you not go for this as the final take profit? Because it's Thursday and Friday, right? Thursday and Friday, you want to go for it to take profit. Although, this day, because CPI usually NFP and CPI they push up and down too hard, So you want to go for it to take profit, right, on Thursday and Friday. And Thursday and Friday are the days where you want to go, not for a very unrealistic take profit. You want to go for a take profit because the weekly candle has to go for a fair price, right? By the execution right over here, you can see this. Why we enter this case another model 1, because you can see it's a perfect model 1. There's nothing is big, nothing small. It's a perfect scenario for a model 1 entry. So entry would be on the model 1, right over there. Stop loss here and take profit 1, take profit 3. Wondering, well, how did you miss the setup, T? How did you miss the setup? The CRT inner circle trader. The reason I missed the setup because I was not focused, right? I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not going to fucking give you guys some insights, right? The reason I missed the setup was because I was not focused. I used my phone. But if I'm trading, my main focus should be trading. It should not be my phone. It should not be nothing but trading, right? If I'm doing anything, my main focus should be that, nothing else but that, right? So I'm gonna have laser focus, right? And the next lesson is I did not look at DXY as my SMT, right? I only look at GU usually as my SMT divergence. But as you guys know, DXY and EU are correlated. They have negative correlation. And EU and DXY and GU, they're all correlated, right? So the next lesson is when I'm looking for SMT divergence, I must monitor GU and DXY both at the same time. I can't just do GU. I can't just prioritize one over other, right? I must prioritize both, right? But you should always prioritize DXY over GU because DXY moves the same opposite way as EU, right? But I will always from now on forward, look at GU and DXY. The next day I was constantly monitoring DXY and GU, but there was no shares here, right? So now that was the lesson of Thursday. What is the lesson of Thursday is have focus. If I'm trading, I should not be my phone. I should probably be focused on trading, nothing else, right? And the next lesson is I should be monitoring DXY and GU for SMT divergence trades, right? Because usually I will start to have SMT divergence, right? So I will monitor DXY and GU as an SMT divergence, right? Even on a winter trade, you can see in a winter trade right over here, there was a SMT divergence to keep in mind. Didn't have a SMT divergence with these lows, so these lows were protected as well. And eventually got disrespected because Wednesday, so the next is gonna perform, right? So this is a big OT to the downside. Reference went up high from here, right? So yeah, why don't I go for this on my take profit on a Thursday trade? Because time over price, because market needs to go to the fair price. I thought the market gonna go wick it out, go back down. You can see my theory was kind of correct, right? It hit a drawn liquidity, it came right back down, gave us bearish correction, right? Eventually went right back up. There was a EU and China negotiations about lowering tariffs on electric vehicles, so that's why probably market had a big fall to the upside, right? But yeah, I was just gonna go over here and take profit because these two take profit were kind of near each other, so it made sense for it to go over right here as our first and final take profit. Why? Because it's Thursday and Friday, right? We want to go for a take profit. And the lesson is have laser focus and monitor both GU and DXY for S&P divergence trades, right? All right, now we'll go with Friday. Friday didn't much happen, right? We just ran out of time, right? Same Friday. We had a same buy to the upside here. Our drone looking with the 14.90.50 because there's a 6-month CFD high over there, right? So looking to go over there, but I'm saying market retraced. And timing of the purge ran out, which was supposed to be between it's supposed to be between 9 a.m. to 30 a.m. right with the time right now. So I'm done for the day right over there. Right, the time the purge right now, so I'm done for the day. But yeah, thanks for watching. Just actually, just a quick recap before we ended the trade, before we ended off the fucking. I'm saying the weekly market recap of how I ended up on a negative 1R. Right, the recap is build good habits and gain satisfaction from building good habits. The next lesson is to go back to the chart and the data, not our feelings. Share the chart and the data, not our PNL, right? Nor our feelings. Share the chart and the data, not my PNL, right? The next chart is, we have awareness. And the next lesson is I will be using rejection block entries in some scenarios, right? The only time we'll be entering out of the rejection block if the wick is overtaking the body, right? So next lesson is, but the model 1 must be confirmed and must have the right model 1, right? So the next lesson is to have laser focus and look for S&P trades and have laser focus and look for S&P divergence trades, right? So monitor DU, GU, and DXY for S&P divergence trade, right? So constantly monitor GU and DXY for S&P divergence, not just GU, right? So that's the next lesson we're gonna have as well. And this is my weekly market recap on how I ended up on a negative 1RR before the trade. We're supposed to be ended up on a 7R week, but lessonable, right? And yeah, thank you for watching. This is on Discord. Links down below. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share, and see you guys later. Peace out.